Okay, so in the last couple of weeks, we learned all the rules for multiplying and for dividing exponents. Today, we're going to talk about negative exponents. So I want you guys to click on the word link so that you can have access to this worksheet that I have so you can follow along with me. Okay? You can pause the video until you can do that. All right, so if I'm going to go through each row of the table so we can understand what's going on. So we have the using exponents row here. So I just want you guys to notice as we go from this side all the way to the left, you see that the exponents are increasing. So let's think about why that happens. So if we're going to move, we have a base of 10. So that means each time we move from one cell to the next, we're multiplying by 10. And you guys learned last week that when you're multiplying, you add the exponent. So -3, and then we have 1 here, 110 here that we're multiplying by. -3 plus 1 will give us -2. You see? And then the same is true here. We're multiplying by 10 to the first power. So -2 plus 1, that's how we get -1. We're multiplying by 10 again here. -1 plus 1, that's how we have 0. And you see the pattern just continues throughout the table. 0 plus 1 is 1. And then times 10 again. 1 plus 1 is 2. And when we go this way, we have 2 plus 1. That's how we have 10 to the third. So as you see, as you go from a negative exponent to a positive exponent, the number is getting bigger because you're multiplying by 10. So if that's the case, what do you think happens when you go backwards? So let's see. If we're going from 10 to the third, and then we ended up by 10 to the second, we're not multiplying by 10, we're doing the inverse, which means dividing by 10. So here, we can also say, when you say dividing by 10, that's the same thing as multiplying by 1/10. These things are the same. So if we multiply this 10 to the third by 1/10, that just means 10 to the third divided by 10 to the first. And we know we subtract the exponents, 3 minus 1, that's how we have 2. Same thing here, times 1 over 10, 10 to the second divided by 10 is going to be 2 minus 1, which is 1. And then as you see, we're going to just keep doing that same pattern each time when you multiply by 1/10. The number is getting smaller. The exponent is getting smaller. So is the number. Okay? So that's the main thing that we have to look at for today, because we only focused on this part for the last couple of weeks. Now we're going to look here. We're going to extend it even further into negative exponents. So let's look at this as a decimal row right here. Anytime that you want to turn a whole number into a decimal, you always, an exponent right here. So for example, this says 10 to the third power. You always have to start off with the decimal after the first whole number. So right here, the first whole number we see is 1. So that's where the decimal place goes, after the 1. And then the 3 tells us how many place value spaces to move. It tells us 3. So I move it 1, 2, 3. So now the decimal's here, and I fill in my place value. So I'm going to rewrite that as 1 followed by this 3 zeros. And of course, my decimal place is now at the end. We put a comma after every third number. And since it says as a decimal, we want to make sure we fill in that space there. You see? So let's try for 10 to the second. Remember, like I said before, you always put the decimal place after the first whole number. That tells us how many place value spaces to move. So now my decimal point is here. So I just have 100. And then, of course, I add a 0 to hold the place. The same is true with the 10 to the first power. So I'm going to move the decimal place 1 space. That's how I end up with 10. And the decimal now is here. And we add a 0 to hold the place. So this is how you're writing these exponents as decimals. And then 10 to the 0, like I said, you start off here, but it says don't move any place value spaces. So that's just going to be 1.0. And everybody knows that any number to the 0 power is 1. We talked about that last week. Now, what happens with the exponents when they're negative? We talked about how the number gets smaller, right? So if we're moving in this direction, the number is getting larger. So what direction do you think we move when we're getting smaller? The opposite direction. So we're going to start with 1 right here, just like we did before, but this is saying we're going in the negative direction. So instead of going 1 place value space to the right, we go 1 place value to the left. So now we have 0.1, right? And then you always want to have a little placeholder there just to hold the place right there. Same thing is true for this one. I'm going to put 1. This is what I have to begin with. If I move the decimal place 2 spaces, it becomes here. So now I have 0.01. And then the same is true here. I'm going to start 1.0. To start, it says 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 3. It's now here. So I have 0.001. And then, of course, we can hold the 0. You might be thinking, why didn't I put the 0 at the end? Because it's not going to change the number. We're going to start with the 1 as the number. So then that's how we got these numbers in our chart. So just as a quick reminder, when the number is getting larger, that means the exponent is a whole number. And when the number is getting smaller, the exponent is a negative number, which means that our standard form of the number is going to be a decimal. Okay? So the last row says how to write these as a fraction. So now we look here. I put a place value chart just in case you guys forgot that. Okay? So let's look at the bottom first, because this part you guys probably remember from the past. To make a whole number a fraction, you put it over 1. So 1,000, to make that as a fraction, it's just 1,000 over 1. And that's what we have in our table. To make 100 a fraction, it's just 100 over 1. 10 is just 10 over 1. And 1 would just be 1 over 1. So that's pretty straightforward. So how do you make a decimal a fraction? Well, you have to know its place value. That's why I put this chart here just in case you guys forgot. So when you line up the numbers in the place value chart, you see right here is the whole number, then we have a decimal, and then that's the fractional or the decimal part. So if I were to line this up, 0 would go here, the decimal is here, and 1 is here, right? So the 1 ends up in what place value space is tenths. So this is 1/10. So you just write it as you say it, 1/10. You see? For this one, we have our 0 here, we have our decimal, then we have a 0 and a 1. So this 1 ends up in the hundredths, so this is going to be 100. Okay? And then for the last one, if I were to line it up, I have a 0, my decimal point is here, I have a 0, and a 1. That 1 ends up in the thousandths place. So I have 1,000. And then if you see in the place value chart or the exponent table, you see it right here. So what you guys are going to now do is the discussion based on the things that I just taught you. So you can pause the video, you can stop the video, you can go back if you need to, and now you're ready to answer the discussion question that's on the board. Thank you.